Okay, so what I want to do in this video is talk a little bit about monopolistic competition versus oligopolies and how they differ from monopolies and perfectly competitive firms. Let's just dive in there. I want to concern you, these aren't as important as perfect competition or monopolies by far, so don't get too caught up in the details with this, but it is something that we should cover. So I'll just run briefly through it because I don't want to devote too much time. So basically, what monopolistic competition is normally with monopolies. What's the difference between monopoly and a firm and perfectly competitive firm? First of all, well, monopolies, perfect competition firms, perfectly competitive firms, I should say, they don't have any market power. They're all the same good. There's many firms. There's free entry and exit, right? Versus a monopoly, they do have monopoly power. There's not free entry and exit, and that could be due to a number of reasons. And then also, there can be difference in product. What monopolistic competition says is, let's see, this is monopolistic competition. Okay, what monopolistic competition says is there is free entry and exit. Okay, there is free entry and exit, so it's different from a monopoly in that case. However, there is different products, so not all products are the same. That's different from perfect competition, so they're non-homogeneous. So there's good quality products, there's low quality products, so people have preferences. So one store might not do as well as another. But there is free entry and exit. So the demand curve can shift. People can enter the market. People can exit the market, etc., etc. And so that'll show up in the graph. Okay? So that would be monopolistic competition. Now let's focus more on oligopolies. So what is an oligopoly? An oligopoly is basically a collection of firms or not firms, like you could say firms, that hold market power. So like, for example, if we have firm A, firm B, and firm C, and then together they encapsulate the entire market. They're not monopolies because they don't control the entire market individually, but if they were to work together, then they would control the entire market. And so this is where we come to the principle of collusion, is with oligopolies, is when they work together, they act as a monopoly, but individually they don't. So what collusion basically is saying, let's come together and let's set a price, because since we control the market when we work together rather than competing, we can decide, well, what if we restrict our output? And in restricting our output, we can act as a monopoly. Because normally, like, if you remember, we have our demand and marginal cost, and this is our perfect, that's where we normally want to operate. But then we have our marginal revenue, and that's where a monopolist operates. And as such, they're able to charge a higher price, okay? And they can make all this profit, for example, if the average total cost curve, let's say the average total cost curve is down here. And so they make way more profit than if they charge right here, they would only make so much. So they make more profit in monopoly. So let's say that they decide to collude. They're like, okay, what if we all restrict our quantity to we'll make this red, to the red line, rather than the green line, which we're normally, when we compete against each other, that's where we normally operate at, is at the green. But what if we restrict it to the red, and as such, we can all charge higher prices and make more money individually? And they're like, that's a great idea, let's do it. But what happens? So that's collusion. That's when it works well. They work together. But then you have this idea of what's called cheating. And what cheating is basically saying, let's say firm A decides, hey, we're charging these higher prices, we're colluding, everything's going great, but what if I go back to the same output that I was, but I'm charging at the current price that everyone else is? So basically, I'm selling more products than everyone else, but at the same price to make even more profit. They get greedy. However, how does this affect the market? Well, if firm B and firm C then see that firm A is selling more products, they're like, well, I don't want to miss out on that profit. So they also both move back to the original quantity, and then this collusion, this monopoly power falls apart, and rather than selling at a price point right here with this quantity, we shift back to this price at this quantity. And so anytime someone cheats, this collusion fails in an oligopoly. Okay, so that should give you a good introduction of monopolistic competition versus oligopolies and how they differ from perfect competition and monopolies. So as always, let me know if you have any questions. Adam